If you're sitting down in a nice restaurant, one of the first things most people do is ask for the wine list. I tend to go in there carrying the wine list. More and more people, though, are requesting a beer menu instead. Not just standard stuff, of course. We're talking craft beers, which are growing in popularity. Nic Watt from Auckland restaurant Masu joins me now. Nic, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in. Now, you have a craft beer menu at Masu. 8 beers on the menu.
Yes, on the craft beer menu we've got 8, and there has been a huge movement towards people wanting an artisan, like a craft beer selection.
What makes it a craft beer? Is it just the quantity that's available?
When you look up craft beer, it's really about the culture and the artisan and the handmade process. There is actually a literage, which is quite enormous, but that's geared off the American market. So it's more, I was asking Brian from Beard Beer, which is a hugely sort of cult-following craft brewer, what defines it, and he said it's the culture, it's the artisan, it's that handmade aspect.
Sort of homemade sort of aspect. And we have a lot of craft beers in New Zealand.
We've got some super world-class craft beers.
Yeah, and that was interesting. We were talking during the break, and you were saying that really, when it comes to New Zealand-Australian rivalry, in craft beer at least, we are head and shoulders above Australia.
Oh, we're ahead of the curve there, definitely. We started off earlier, which is great. And I guess being New Zealand, they say Nelson's sort of the capital of craft brewing in New Zealand. And it's sort of spotted, we've got from Kumeu down to Wellington, etc. It's spotted throughout the country.
So are we blowing the bejesus out of this, or is there genuinely a trend towards craft beer in restaurants?
I wouldn't say it's a trend, it's a movement.
Yeah.
So people want to come in, and it's not like a craft beer is not a beer generally you'll sit on all afternoon or all night. It's something you can start your night with. So you come into Masu, for example, we've got 2 taps with craft beer on it, and you might just ask for a taste. You have a little taste of each one and start your night with that, and then move on to the wine list that you've carried in.
Because here's the thing, I happen to know that you have a spectacular wine menu at Masu.
Thank you.
Why would I waste drinking time on craft beer when I can have a lovely wine?
Because the beer, for example, Masu, for our first birthday, we actually spent months collaborating with Hallertau and Kumeu and Brian in Japan from Beard Beer to create our own celebration beer. So what a better way to start your evening at Masu with a beer that we've created, to match our restaurant for you, and then move into the list.
People will do that. People will. But wine lovers like me will still have a craft beer at the beginning.
Yeah, I will generally drink wine, but when I go out to dinner now, I'll dive into a beer to start.
And more people are doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, give me a food match then. So what would be the perfect sort of food to have a craft beer with?
That's sort of like what would you match with wine? It's really open. So there's lots of sort of the lighter wheaten ales that move on to some of those nice smoky flavours. But on a food and wine match, it's actually, they can go into food really nicely. So, for example, we've got a chocolate pudding that we do with a ginger beer ice cream. So that works out, chocolate and ginger, it's a natural match.
Now, Hilary here is, and you've talked to me, before we even talked about doing this interview today and having you in, Nic, Hilary has often mentioned craft beer. You love drinking beer with food, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. And it's exactly the way Nic says. You wouldn't drink it the way the traditional Kiwi beer drinker used to, in flagons or anything else. It's like a good wine.
It's sophisticated.
It's sophisticated. You pick a lovely craft beer.
I love the way Jim just
wonderful.
said, "Oh yeah."
I had one on Friday night. I had the number 8 Weiss smoky. What's it called? The smoky flat white. I think it was called. It's beautiful, beautiful beer.
Brilliant. All right, I'm going to come into Masu very soon and we'll just crawl through the craft beer menu.
Done, I'll be there.
Brilliant. Nic, thank you very much for joining us. Nic Watt, amazing restaurateur, chef at Masu.